and Andrew, I think, was pointing out, don't women say like this all the time?
Yeah, that what
men
I
are
tried to-
trash.
yes.
We don't need men. I'd rather, wait, question. Would you rather be alone, or would you rather come across in the forest a man or a bear?
man?
Which do you pick?
A bear.
And
yes,
so
I get
you're
that.
a misandrist. You're a man hater.
I'm not a man hater.
Let
I
me
just
tell
think
you
I
why.
Trust.
Because let me ask. You think there's your risk assessment here is that you're going to get essayed by men to the point where you would rather be in the forest with a wild bear than with a man. Is that correct? Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay. So what percentage of men do you think in this situation would choose to victimize you? What percentage of men?
What do you mean?
Okay. In this hypothetical, you choose bear over man, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your risk assessment would seem to indicate that you think a high percentage of men.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So what percentage of men would victimize you?
I'm not sure I can come up with the percentage because
Take a guess.
Well, let me just say first, my reason for coming to this conclusion of a bear is because when I first think of, I guess risk assessment, I would rather take my chances with.
Well, I can I actually have an experiment for this.
Wait, but let me
ahead.
just.
No,
okay.
I want to hear this.
Hold on. No. Let's finish this really quick. Okay. What percentage of men do you think would victimize you in this scenario?
I know the answer.
Oh, there's like a statistical answer?
No, it's 50-50 always.
Oh my.
Why
don't we let her answer?
40%.
Okay, so knowing that the adult male the male population of the United States is something like, I think, 160 million, 40%, what would that be? That would be not quite 80 million men. Let's say
Sorry,
it's
let me
70.
change that.
So you think
30%,
70 million?
30%.
You think 70 million men in the United States would choose to?
No, because I changed it to 30%.
I still find this incredibly objectionable, because there's currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 men. Sorry, my math's fucking terrible. In this studio. Okay, so 2 of the men in the studio are rapists. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying I'd probably rather be in a forest with a bear than men that I don't know or trust because I could end up getting. I mean, it's even like a conversation. Sometimes I just don't.
Have you ever had a one-night stand?
Yes.
How many one-night stands have you had?
1.
Interesting how that works.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, you were alone with a man.
Yeah, I'm not saying
that you just met.
I'm not saying I'm okay with that or that it was a great decision. I regret it.
Right, but it was consensual, right? Okay. It's just interesting. Women will hook up with the dudes, meet up with them, no issues. You pass by hundreds, if not thousands of men all the time. None of them do anything to you. But you have this bias against men. That's interesting.
I don't have a bias
It's
against
absolutely.
men.
Hold on. How is it not a bias where you think 30% of men, and you originally said 40, you think 30% of men are inclined to violence or sexual assault towards you?
Yeah.
Living underscore donated $200.
That's a bias.
Big old Brian, oh it'll work Andrew. Proceeds to be the worst moment in technology history. Someone spike his drink with Ozempic. Andrew just wins debates, BC he's hot.
Okay, that's...
I dispense Ozempic if you need it.
They're laughing back there.
There's another one coming through. We have another one coming through. Living, thank you, man, for the TTS. Appreciate
thanks,
it.
Living.
We'll come back to it here in just a sec, but Noah has one coming in. Thank you, Noah. Appreciate it.
Noah donated $200. Women says that she hates men. You go girl. Slay queen. Man says he hates women, and everyone loses their minds.
Can I
Seems like Schrodinger's
Sure, go ahead.
feminist to me.
We should to love each other.
Hold on.
I would
Let
like
her
to
speak.
separate the bear versus man argument with my dislike towards his comment, because I'm not coming from a place of all men, I hate all men, because that's not how I feel. I think a lot of men are great and awesome, but I also think that that's a totally different comment to make, to say.
Wait, you think all men are inclined to violence and SA?
No. Not all men. I
Okay,
just think more men than more.
40%
more
of men.
men than women. I would take my chances.
It's
More
enough.
men than a bear.
But
What?
it's
More men than a
enough.
bear.
Hold on. But even though the percentage chance of you being with a man who wouldn't do these things is greater, it's enough men that you would rather take a path that lands you in a forest not with a man. Mike Davis said, I've tried to see the good side of women, but I'm done with these disgusting creatures, right? And he says, keep females away from me. Isn't this just sort of essentially the mirror of what you're saying by picking the bear?
No.
It absolutely is.
Yes,
It absolutely is.
Yes.
All right, then sure, he's valid in his comment. Great. I think what he said was awesome, and I do think.
Why aren't any of the
disgusting
ladies
evil creatures.
disavowing your statement?
What do you mean?
You think 30% of men would be inclined to violence towards you?
I don't know the statistics. That's just how I feel.
That's
I feel
how.
like a lot
Yes,
of-
that's how you feel.
Okay.
It's
so
still an objectionable thing.
How many men are in prison because of SA?
A lot.
How many
what?
though?
A lot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The better
So
question
what percentage
is why
of men
she's
are in
here.
jail?
I think-
Oh, it's a very low percentage.
my thing is, I think more men are worse than more women, but that does not make the
Whoa,
majority of men.
that's a
but
sexist
that does
statement.
not make.
Oh, wait,
Not worse.
men-
I think less. You're taking.
You're saying there's more worse men than there
There's
are worse women.
More men have done essay, have done compared to women.
Right.
It's statistically proven. I don't know the statistics off the top of my head, but that does not mean that I think that the majority of men are evil,
isn't this an
disgusting
apex?
creatures.
This is an apex fallacy. First of all, criminality is a very, very small proportion of the
Of the people that
population.
actually do wrong,
So to
right.
say that I'm going to have this sort of blanket assessment of men due to a small proportion of some men's criminality, you're attributing to the group the actions of a small fraction.
This would be the same argument towards racism. So that would be the same
elaborate?
argument you would make in
Can you
reverse for
elaborate?
racism. Yeah, sure. So if you were to say, okay, a small percentage of the population, which happens to be this race, conducts X amount of crimes, you would immediately look for ulterior reasons why they were criminals absent the race, right?
Okay.
But
I see.
how come you won't do that when it comes to men, right?
Okay. No, that's a good argument.
Yeah, wouldn't that be this? It's the same thing in reverse,
Mm-hmm.
isn't it?
Think on that one too. You're coming back with some good arguments, I'll say.
It's so sad that you feel scared by such a percent of the men. This is so sad. And actually the better question is like why the young woman feels like that? Why she scares of the 30% of the men?
Because they've been
in the planet?
indoctrinated and brainwashed.
Sure.
Or maybe
Because
it's
we've
happened
been-
before in the
Yeah,
past.
maybe it's happened.
Like personally,
To you?
like
Yes.
yeah, family.
This is a good question. You
Yeah,
know,
but if,
guys?
if
we
you
don't
had-
want to be scared of you.
Even
We
if
don't
it,
your own
want.
parents.
even if it were to have happened to everybody here
We
at the
want to
table.
love each other.
Hang on. Even if it were to have happened to everybody at this table, that every woman here was in some way assaulted by a man in a way, and none of the men here were ever sexually assaulted by a woman in any way, that would mean nothing.
How?
That we would
That's
not
just
be
coincidence.
we
that-
would not be able to.
Oh.
How would you ever extrapolate that into anything?
So it's
from
just
this
coincidence
setting?
that if all the women here were essayed, that they were just happened to be here at the same time, and all of the
anecdotal.
men that hadn't were here as well.
Well, I mean, okay.
Because
Well, let's
we are
let's
hot.
think about it for a second, right? There's more women here than there are men, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Why is that? Is there a reason for it?
Because you want to argue with us,
Well,
so that men in the
whatever,
comments can
well,
see we're disgusting.
whatever,
creatures.
whatever the reason is, right? There's definitely reasons behind why that is the case, right?
So you're saying, if all of us were essayed, we're
Like you wouldn't
here
just say you're
because-
all here coincidentally, and I wouldn't just say all the men are here coincidentally.
So
like
we're
there
here
was
because we're
mechanisms.
delusional is
well,
what you're
there's
saying.
no. I'm saying there's mechanisms which moved us all into place, right?
But what does that have
And
to
so
do
the
with
question
anything?
is like even if all of this had happened, right? It doesn't give us a tell as to the mechanism for why it happened, right? Could be with this particular sample size, for instance, that because you're all around the same age group, you're more prone and in a propensity to be in situations where such a thing does happen. Whereas we could get the same exact group of women from a different demographic.
He speaks
then
about
they have,
our job.
and they have absolutely none of those things, right? So you can't really just kind of say, well, even if it had happened to everybody here, that we could extrapolate that out to mean something meaningful.
It's because we are beautiful and because we are. Yeah, that's
No, I'm not.
probably.
I'm not. I'm not.
I mean,
aware.
like.
But something
Poor
you're not talking
attitude.
about is that men are essayed by women too, and there's a very high percentage of that.
Yes, there is.
So like when we're
far more than
generalizing-
is ever talked about. Yeah.
like if we're generalizing each gender and just saying, basically you guys are saying women have it worse. Like that is what I'm hearing. And yeah, women have it bad, but so do men. And men are more likely to, you know, because that things aren't spoken about, and it is so highly, it happens so much with men, and it's just not spoken about, and it's just passed over like it's nothing.
Well, that's certainly a fair point. But did you get an answer on this, or?
Well, no, not really. I was just saying. So, but this just from my brain, right? Is like, if you say, well, could this all just be coincidence that all of us here? Yeah, it could, right? Because there's going to be mechanisms which drive things, and so that's why when we do sample sizes, you pull them from different demographics, different backgrounds, different. You know what I mean? That way you can draw commonalities, so that you can extract data correctly. Like just, a few women sitting at a table who say, "This is my experience," even if all the experiences map up, it doesn't actually tell us anything.
I do want to ask a question.
How could it? You could agree that I could set out that even if this bad thing had happened to every single woman here, that we could take a completely different, even random sample size from the street and put the same exact women here, and it's more than possible that nothing ever happened to any of them.
I wouldn't say it's more than possible.
Yeah, it's not?
Yes, it's possible.
More than possible.
Why?
I mean, I don't know. It's just,
why is it not more? Why? I'm sorry. What in the world would make that not possible?
Can I get my phone to do a fact check? Because I've seen somewhere a statistic that says it's over half of women that have been essayed or whatever.
Even if that's true, let's say it was 90%. You could still draw randomly from the street, get a same 9 sample, and still not one of those women had ever been essayed.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Yes.
So we can't. So that's why I'm saying you can't draw kind of those conclusions when you say, "Is that just a coincidence?" Well, yeah, it could be. It could literally just be a coincidence, of course.